Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Sir Keir Starmer has a problem with gender. He was once famously asked what is a woman and was quite incapable of saying, because of course the left are eating themselves over this issue. On one hand, they talk about women's rights and safety, and on the other hand, they want to go on a line about trans rights. So they're not really entirely sure, are they? Well, Sir Keir was sure. He was sure that men who wanted to be women could just self-identify, throw on a dress, put on some high heels, call themselves Susan, and everyone else was supposed to go along and agree with that lie. But he's had a revelation. He's saying, no, you cannot self-identify. He still wants to go along the medical route. And what has caused this amazing shift in his views? Instead of going self-identification, you've got to have psychiatric evaluation. You've got to have psychoanalytical work. You cannot just do it. It's got to be signed off by a doctor. Well, to be honest, he's looked at Scotland. He's seen all the mistakes Scotland have made. He's seen all the divisions it's caused. And he's seen that he doesn't want to open that particular can of worms for England and Wales. And who can blame him? So we'll take a look at this article to see why it's all gone so wrong and why Sir Keir has changed his mind. Here goes. So Sir Keir Starmer admits the SNP's meltdown over gender recognition laws led him to U-turn over his past support for self-identification for trans people. As he says, Labour now wants to keep it a medical process, which of course it should be. And of course, if fully vetted, only about 1%, if that, doubtful even 1% of people presenting as trans would actually be gender dysphoric. It is a very specific diagnosis. And there's so very few. The rest of them are just mainly mentally ill or predators, as we know by the amount of them that end up in prison. But anyway, Sir Keir Starmer today admitted Labour had reflected on the fierce row over gender recognition reforms in Scotland, as he confirmed a U-turn on self-identification for trans people. The Labour leader outlined how, if his party wins power at the next election, which it probably will, he will seek to modernise gender recognition laws. Well, I've got a proposal. You say, do you have a penis? Yes, you're a man. There you go. That's not difficult. Now, if a man wants to be a woman, he can go and get his junk cut off, and absolutely fine. And then he gets a gender recognition certificate. But that doesn't, that just means societal gender recognition. It doesn't mean full access to all women's areas, because despite having your junk cut off and you being allowed legally to identify as a woman, that's all you're doing. You're identifying as a woman, but you're not a woman. You never will be. And so you still have to stay out of women-only spaces. And that way, that's safe for women and children, isn't it? But Sir Keir stressed how he now wanted to keep it a medical process and didn't think that self-identification is the right way forward. Well, of course not. We've seen all the problems in Scotland. We've seen the big issues about putting men into women's prisons. And it is not right. And we know from the government's own figures that trans people are 10 times more likely to be sex offenders. And so, again, you've got to protect women from these mentally ill people. He said it marks a reversal on the Labour leader's past support for the introduction of self-identification for those seeking legal recognition of a new gender. You're not changing anything. You're just changing what people call you. But it doesn't mean that you change. You're not changing your sex. And I think in any case where it is a sex division, it must be biological sex, not the words by which you describe yourself. And so it is sex that needs to be there. So when it says male and female, it means biological male, biological female. You can't just throw on an A-line dress and walk into the ladies' loo, for example. That's how it's got to be. Biological. Sir Keir's new stance also puts him at odds with Scottish Labour, who said they continue to back the demedicalisation of gender recognition in Scotland, which is quite the wrong way and against what most people want. And if they're so sure that they're right, let's have a referendum on it and see where they go. I think they know the answer. In an interview with BBC Radio 5 Live, Sir Keir conceded the controversy over the Scottish Government's recent attempts to change gender recognition laws had forced his rethink. You think? Nicola Sturgeon, the ex-SNP leader and former Scottish First Minister, last year introduced the Gender Recognition Reform Bill to make it easier for trans people to obtain the gender recognition certificate, which is a legal recognition of their acquired gender. And that's fine if the courts want to now call them she and her, and that's fine. But again, it doesn't mean that this person is now a woman. They're still not a woman. They're a man with a piece of paper. And there's a big difference. There was a fierce backlash over Miss Sturgeon's proposed reforms, and while it was passed by MSPs at Holyrood with Scottish Labour support, the bill was blocked from becoming law by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Probably one of the very few things he's ever got right. The row over the bill was also accompanied by widespread fury at high-profile cases of transgender prisoners in Scotland being held in women's jails without the consent of the women who are currently being jailed. Sir Keir this morning denied he had attempted to sneak out Labour's new stance on self-identification through a Guardian article written by party chair Annalise Dodds this week. Annalise Dodds is awful. She's thick as two short planks. Anyway, he said, firstly, a woman is an adult female. So let's clear that one up. Well, that's taken him 18 months to work out what a woman is. So well done, Sir Keir. Secondly, in relation to the process, we had by-elections last week. We finished that and we went on to Nottingham for a 3-day national policy forum. It's where Labour Party grinds through its policies, and at the end of that we have an agreed policy on a whole range of issues, including gender recognition. You see, the problem is they're talking about changing gender recognition, but we can all recognise gender now. We look and that's a man, or that's a man in a very bad fitting dress, or that's a man with some makeup on. I don't know why he's wearing it. Has he sought psychiatric help? Who knows? But that's not what they want. Anyway, he said, it gave us the chance to reflect on what happened in Scotland recently in relation to gender recognition, and to be clear that we want to modernise the legislation. Quizzed about Scottish Labour's continued support for the demedicalisation of gender recognition processes, Sir Keir replied, we don't agree. We don't think that self-identification is the right way forward. Again, an absolute massive change of stance. They don't know really what they're doing, do they? The Labour leader admitted the row over transgender prisoners in Scottish women's jails was an aspect of what was going on in Scotland. And of course, that's a whole can of worms he does not want to particularly open. It makes life very difficult for him. He said, we've set out that we want to modernise the process, get rid of some of the indignities in the process and keep it a medical process, he added, as he continued his party's position. He said, we've always, as I'll continue to say, and Sunday, he said, when we've completed our policy forum, allowed us to be clear that there should be safe spaces for women, particularly in relation to physicality against women and girls. And that is what we've always said. There's got to be safe spaces for biological women, where even if men with a certificate want to go, they must not go. He's finally getting it. Slowly. Finally. What is wrong with the left? Why do they not understand that women want to be safe? Why do they not want to protect women? Who knows? It seems to be a strange thing. Anyway, I'm going to finish there on the good news that Sir Keir has finally realised that allowing mentally ill people to identify as women is wrong. Coming up. Well, it is finally nice to see that Sir Keir has learnt a lot in 18 months, knowing now what a woman is, and understanding that a piece of paper doesn't change your sex, it just changes what the courts call you. In reality, it changes nothing, and that these men, these mentally ill men, need still to be refused entry to women's changing rooms. It's only fair and right, isn't it? We don't want to put people in harm's way by allowing predators into safe spaces. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and stay out of ladies' changing rooms if you're a man. Bye.